Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Baithak podcast. I'm your host Didi, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we'll be previewing the season 8 of the Formula E World Championship. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready your opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant, how are you doing today?
Yeah, hi Divya. I'm great. It's just 1 week to go for one of the most exciting motorsports series every year. So yeah, pretty
Absolutely.
awesome.
Last year was carnage. We didn't know who would be winning. We had over 5 drivers going into the final race of the championship with a mathematical chance to win. We saw heartbreak for Sam Bird last year and Nick De Vries winning the championship by the smallest of margins. Probably the most exciting championship of 2021. But that would be a lie because we saw what happened in Abu Dhabi. So, so you know. So yeah, but there's a lot to talk about. But the biggest news coming out of Formula E, Vedant, is that India is a step closer to hosting an FIA World Championship race once again, as the state of Telangana has signed a letter of intent to host a round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship from season 9 onwards. Work to examine the viability of hosting an E-Prix in the capital city of Hyderabad is already underway. Furthermore, India's leading renewable energy company Greenco will be partnering with Formula E to deliver this event. Vedant, what are your thoughts? I am absolutely delighted. I am so excited, and I wish I'm able to attend this race. Uh, you know, uh, circ- Provided that the circumstances are good and I can travel back home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was so ecstatic when I first heard that news. And I mean, Mahindra has been in Formula E since season one, and it was always in the back of our minds that why hasn't Mahindra tried to bring Formula E to India? But now, in the end, it took some time, but it's hopefully, finally happening. And I think even Formula E has been trying to come to India since season one itself, but you know how the government in India and all these silly things go about. We saw what happened with the Formula One race, and just to get the race, just to get a motorsports championship in India is a big step in itself. So yeah, I mean, it better late than never.
Yeah, and the biggest thing on my mind is that I hope that the Indian motorsport fans grasp this opportunity with both hands, because obviously it will depend on how well this motorsport series is received in India, both in person if possible, if that will be the case, and through the TV viewership. That will determine the future of the championship in India, and I hope the motorsport fans grab this with both hands. Hopefully, people will go out there. Hopefully, there'll be a lot of coverage on Star Sports or some leading channels, and hopefully, we'll see more motorsport series come to India as a result of this. Obviously, we had Formula One for like about 3 years, almost 10 years ago, and then before that, we also had a few series try to come to India, but unsuccessfully. So, but I think Formula E is poised and it's in a good place, to come and make that mark in India, and hopefully, we'll have something special in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Formula E has one of the best fan engagement efforts in motorsports. The paddock is almost wide open. The fan area, as it is called, like, I mean, the fan area and all those areas which are accessible to the fans are so widely, there's a wide range of activities to do there. And I think it's open for all ticket holders. So it would be a great event, even if you have a a reasonable ticket, but you can still attend the fan areas and the simulators and the gift
Yeah,
shops and
hopefully,
all such
hopefully, given
things.
the COVID situation, that
Yeah,
if
I mean, yeah,
whether or not.
obviously, but in the end, I think it would be a great engagement and great outing for the fans themselves, and
Absolutely.
it would be a great, it's an opportunity to have motorsports firmly in India once again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm hoping to hear more news as soon as possible. Positive news from that camp, that is trying to organize this in India. Obviously, I can't wait. The Gen 3 calendar cannot Gen 3 season 9 calendar cannot be released fast enough for me now.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking. I'll always be looking out for that news. But let's focus our attention again back to season 8 that is starting in a week's time in Diriyah. Once again, we'll be having 16 races in season 8, which will be the last season for the Gen 2 cars. We'll be starting the season in Diriyah with a double header on 28th and 29th of January. Then we'll be flying to Mexico City for one race, coming back to Rome in Europe for a double header, followed by Monaco on 30th April. Then we'll be going to Berlin for a double header, followed by Jakarta, which is a new addition to the Formula E calendar as a destination, and then followed by Vancouver, which is another new destination for Formula E. Then we'll be coming back to New York for a double header, followed by a double header in London, and finally hosting the last two races in Seoul, Korea, which I believe is again a new destination for Formula E. So definitely, a lot of exciting things this season. Even though we're not racing with new cars, we're going to new destinations, and there are new drivers on the grid. Which race are you most looking forward to, Vedant, of the 16 races that I've rattled in the last 30 seconds?
Well, I think from last year, we can safely say that Monaco Formula E is one of the best events in motorsports every season. Because,
That is
I
true.
mean, before last year, Formula E didn't race on the complete Monaco GP circuit, and we did race last year on that circuit, and it was better than the Formula One race, and it was better than the Formula One race of the last 6 years. So
100%, 100%.
yeah, I think
Unfortunately,
Monaco
this
is
year
the best
though,
one.
yeah, unfortunately this year
Sorry.
though we don't have a back. Unfortunately, this year we don't have a back-to-back event with Formula One and Formula E.
Yeah.
Formula E is in Monaco on 30th April, but Formula One will only be visiting Monaco, I think, on 25th to 27th of May, if I'm right about that. But I'm looking forward to attending the Formula E race in not in Vancouver, in New York this year.
New York. Yeah.
Last year due to COVID, I didn't go, but hopefully this year the conditions will be better, and I'll be able to fly out there for the race. Although I'm also excited to see what happens in Seoul. Hopefully the title decider will once again go down to the last race, and we'll have some exciting action in a new destination.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, Jakarta, Vancouver, and Seoul, all three new destinations are incredible. These are all, world destination cities. There's a lot of fans there everywhere. And to have a title decider at a new location like Seoul is a great thing, because then you have a whole lot of new fans coming in to see one of the biggest events of the season. So, yeah, it's going to be super exciting.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the teams this season. Obviously, we have 11 teams and 22 drivers, but there has been a lot of shuffling, a lot of new faces, like I said before. So let's go down that list. First on our list is Avalanche Andretti. We have Jake Dennis racing for them. He is a proven, race winner. He finished pretty high. He finished third in the championship last year, if I'm not wrong. And then we have a new face in Oliver Askew, who will be making his debut in Formula E, coming from IndyCar. And I believe, anyone coming from IndyCar has a great chance at winning at Formula E, just because of the kind of racing that there is in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Oliver Askew, while racing in IndyCar, he did show what his potential was. He didn't get a longer chance with McLaren, and I think he was racing for McLaren, right? Or
Yeah, that was
whatever
his
team.
first season with Aaron McLaren SP alongside
Yeah,
Pato Award. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I mean, he's in Avalanche Andretti now with Andretti. So I think it's a great opportunity for him to show what he's worth in Formula E, and maybe head back to uh,
IndyCar
IndyCar
in the
with
future.
Andretti if they find him good.
Yeah, and Andretti is there, across a lot of motorsport series. So, it opens up a lot of doors for him in the
Yeah,
future if he does well. But I think Jake Dennis will be one to look out for. Obviously he made the headlines when he won the race in Valencia after the round two in Valencia, I believe. In what was like one of the most boring races, but he did well to lead from pole and win that race. But let's move on. Let's talk about Dragon Penske. We have Sergio Sete Camara. He did well in his debut season, but again, he wasn't contending for the title. But in greater news, and what will be bringing in more eyeballs, I believe, from Formula One to Formula E, is the addition of Antonio Giovanazzi in that Dragon Penske team. I believe I remember Antonio saying that he wasn't 100% comfortable with the car, so it'll be interesting to see how he begins the season with the first round in Diriyah.
Yeah, I think Antonio Giovanazzi is. I think he's going to be a good addition to the Formula E grid. He has that determination. He has that raw pace in a way. We saw that during qualifying a lot in Formula One this season. So I think, I mean, he needs to get his elbow out to succeed in Formula E. That is true, but I think in the end, it's going to be a good season for Antonio.
Hopefully he won't. He's known for crashing out whenever he's having a points finish, but
Yeah,
hopefully he can turn this around because that is even more likely in Formula
in
E.
Formula E. Yeah,
If you were to put it that way. But let's talk about DS Techeetah's team that has won multiple championships. Statistically, they have the most successful lineup and the most experience. They have John Eric Verne, who's won the championship twice, and Antonio Felix da Costa, who won a couple seasons ago. When we were racing in Germany for 6 or 8 rounds. There's nothing that you can say about them, to hype them up. They are veterans. They have proved
yeah,
themselves. They had a disappointing season last year with DS Techeetah. I think that had also something to do with the technology where DS Techeetah was there, was with the development phase. But you'll be hoping to see them at the very front of the grid. Giving the youngsters a hard time throughout the championship.
yeah, absolutely. But I think as long as they don't crash into each other and they don't fight each other a lot, they can, succeed. I mean, DS Strategia can be back at the level that they have consistently been in Formula E because we know that Jean-Eric Verne and uh, Antonio Felix da Costa are hard drivers and they have had issues among themselves in the past in the same team itself.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting season once again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say, how the relationship is at this point of time because Formula E unfortunately does not get the same sort of coverage that Formula One does. But hopefully, having 2 seasons in a condensed year, you could say, would be beneficial to Formula E because they would get more airtime and we'll get more face time with these drivers and learn more about them. Hopefully, let's talk about Envision Virgin, not Envision Virgin Racing, just Envision Racing, I believe. Not sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they envision. I think Virgin left and they now have a
Yeah.
new color scheme, which is green and blue.
Oh
Very
yeah, that is
striking.
that was doing the rounds after the I think Valencia or Barcelona test.
Valencia testing. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that is it is similar to the Jordan car color
yeah,
that people
yeah.
really like.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Robin Franz and Nick Cassidy. Robin Franz only driver to finish all races last season. I believe he should get an award for that. And Nick Cassidy
Yeah,
had a pretty good season last year. I mean, it's hard to say, who had a bad or good season last year because everybody was nearly so close to each other towards the end that, obviously everybody had a few bad races and a few good races. But it's hard to, really quantify or qualify everyone's season as good or bad almost.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Envision Racing has been one of the top runners in Formula E for a few years now with their Audi powertrain. Now, Audi is no longer a factory team in Formula E, but they still run like Envision is still running the Audi powertrain. So Audi would be hoping that their legacy sort of continues. But other than that, Robin Franz and Nick Cassidy are brilliant drivers. Robin Franz has been on the top of his game for a few seasons now. We have seen him regularly go compete for the title. And Nick Cassidy, of course, his debut season last year, and he is a proven champion in multiple series in Japan and elsewhere. So another strong team and another championship contenders.
And I think didn't like Envision Virgin Racing finish third in the champions in the constructors championship last year,
Yeah, yeah,
below Jaguar and
yeah.
Mercedes. So yeah,
I'm
they
pretty
were
sure they
clearly
were
having a
stuck.
good run throughout the season. But Vedant, let's talk about our home team, Mahindra. They've had a couple disappointing seasons. I think the last good season they had was when Pascal Wehrlein was with them. But since then, it's kind of dropped, and quite it's been quite disheartening to see that happen. This year, they are coming with not Oliver Rowland and Alexander Sims. Um, the other Alexander has been axed from the team. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Mahindra has a better chance this year, or should we, hedge our expectations from Mahindra and wait until we see the Gen 3 car from them?
Uh, I mean, it's always tricky with Mahindra, I believe, because they finally have a factory in UK, like their new factory in UK, and they are finally building their new powertrains. But that happened last year as well. So maybe it was an adaptation year, and we might see more results, better results this season. But I think Oliver Rowland is a great signing for Mahindra because he is. I mean, he's so fast, and I believe he's hungry for success, and he's hungry for leading a team, which he was doing in Nissan. But then again, Nissan was. I mean, Sebastian Buemi was also at Nissan, who was a salesman of Nissan as such. So I think Oliver Rowland is going to be a great, great prospect for Mahindra. And Alexander Sims, we have seen him put the car in places which normally people won't do. So yeah.
Yeah. But let's talk about the defending champs, Mercedes EQ team. Obviously, this is their last season. They are buying out after at the end of this season. They will not be competing in Gen 3, unfortunately. And they have, one of the best lineups in Formula E. Nick De Vries is the defending champ, and Stoffel Vandoorne. That man just needs a little bit of luck, and he might just blitz everyone in the championship. But we all know the fact that luck is hard to come by in Formula E, especially when the walls are so close.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mercedes EQ, like the last 3 seasons, have been phenomenal for them. In season 6, they were runners up, and in Berlin especially, they were absolutely like they were just behind Da Costa, and just right behind him, Stoffel Van Dorn was right behind Da Costa, and last season they were obviously the champions, and I think they are having a good run. It's a shame that they'll leave after this season, but definitely, they obviously they'll be the favorites for the title going into the season, I guess.
Yep. Now let's talk about one of the back markers over the last few seasons, Neo 333. I believe, regardless of the car that they have an exciting season ahead because of the new signing in Dan Ticktum. I think this is the most exciting person in Formula E this year. He's had his ups and downs in Formula One and not Formula One, but in the world of Formula One, I guess, in the junior categories. Uh, and it'll be interesting to see how Dan Ticktum goes racing in Formula E. He's known for rash moves, he's known for rash words, and he's known for braking hard and racing hard. So it'll be interesting to see. And he's alongside Oliver Turvey, who's been a little bit. I don't know. He hasn't been in the news a lot. To put it that way. What are your thoughts, Vedant?
Yeah, I mean Dan Ticktum coming to Formula E is is a great story for Formula E because then all eyes will be on Formula E right now. The way Dan Ticktum races and the way Dan Ticktum goes about his business is is very unique, I would say, and we don't see a lot of people drive in that manner. But in the end, Dan Ticktum driving in Formula E is going to be very interesting, and getting involved in the action
I
everywhere.
think he's gonna be upsetting some veterans this year
Yeah,
if
yeah. I
things
mean,
go the way we are expecting them to go.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, Oliver Turvey, as you said, he has not been in the news a lot, and he is definitely an underrated driver. But we should not forget that Neo 333 are a backmarker sort of team. So Oliver Turvey's performances can be reflected only against his teammates and his, himself, which have been pretty good. So I guess what Oliver Turvey needs is a good car, and he might bring in that you know awestruck performance.
Yeah, let's hope so. Now let's talk about the people, the team that had a heartbreaking last round, in season 7. and that is Jaguar. Obviously, Sam Bird was up for the title contention going into the last race. He was the favorite. I would, I don't think I'll be wrong to say that. And I think this is once again their best chance to win another championship. They definitely have the technology down. They definitely have the drivers down. All they need is a little bit of luck. Sam Bird was phenomenal last season. He's the only driver to win a race in every Formula E season. And then Mitch Evans, oh, sorry, I got it the other way around. Mitch Evans was the one going into the final round, contending for the championship. But yeah, Mitch Evans again. He was just phenomenal last year.
Yeah, I think, I mean, with Mercedes not probably not investing a lot in Formula in the development this season, I think Jaguar have the best car and the best chances and the best lineup, especially
Yeah, and
to
they also
win
have
that title.
Norman Nato joining Jaguar as a test and reserve
Yeah,
driver,
as a
who had a
test and
pretty
reserve
decent
driver.
season last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with Sam Bird and Mitch Evans, you can't go wrong with this lineup. And Jaguar they were runners up last season, so they have a pretty strong car. Uh, and I believe with that uh, new qualifying format that we'll be talking about in a minute, they have the best chance to emerge on top.
That's an interesting point. We'll see how that pans out over the course of the season. How badly that ages or how well that ages over the course of the next 4 or 5 months. But let's talk about the last two teams. Rocket Venturi, they have Eduardo Mortara, who showed flashes uh, of being really, really good. And then Lucas Gracia, who's a proven quantity in racing. It'll be interesting to see how Eduardo Mortara, evolves this season. Basically, he'll be having the same car. So it'll be interesting to see if he can up the pace and up the ante to, get some more podiums and wins under his belt.
Yeah, I think Edo Mortara. I mean, after his incident during the middle of the season last year, I think he was a bit shaken. But I think after the break, he can come back stronger now. And he's a race winner. He was in the championship contention till that incident. I'm forgetting the round
Was
that
it Mexico
incident took
City?
place in.
Like, not Mexico City, but like the race that happened in Mexico. Was that it?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
remember.
not
I don't
sure
remember. I
either.
don't remember. Yeah, but I mean, anyway, Edo Mortara is. I mean, we were not expecting Venturi to be fast, and then Edo Mortara was in the title contention for half of the season. So that is pretty exciting. And Lucas de Grassi, as you said, is is a champion in his own right. And but with a new team, new drivetrain, and a completely different environment, coming from Audi, a factory team, to Venturi, a customer team, is going to be a great adjustment for Degrassi. But I mean, he's a champion, and I'm sure he can get around it pretty quickly.
Uh, yeah, we'll see what happens. And for the last team, Porsche. Porsche has a few updates. They've hired Florian Modlinger, ex Audi Formula E team, he, and Matthias Ekstrom's engineer from the DTM and World Rallycross Championships. I'm not sure who he'll be working with, if he's working with the driver directly as a race engineer or not. But obviously they have Andre Lauter and Pascal Verline, who are veterans of Formula E themselves. And if Porsche were to deliver the right car, I believe both of them could take the championship away from the get go.
Yeah, absolutely. Andre Lauter has been. I mean, he's a multiple Le Mans winner, and he's a great legend of the sport. But he has not been his best in Formula E. And I mean, maybe it's because of Porsche's car, because Porsche themselves have not been at the front of the grid a lot. But yeah, I think in the end, when you look at the lineup, Andre Lauter and Pascal Wehrlein, it's a strong lineup. And you can never know what happens in Formula E. So we are in for a very exciting season for them as well. But you said it was the last team, but it was not, because we missed Nissan in middle.
Oh,
So,
crap.
but yeah, so I mean, Nissan.
Well, talking about Nissan, then they have Sebastian Buemi and Maximilian Gunther. Maximilian Gunther did win a race last year, if I'm right, and
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
been
I
pretty
guess.
underrated for the most. I think it was his debut season last year, And then, he did make a few headlines, but again, because of the way the championship was panning out, all the spotlight was on the top three, four drivers for the entirety of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Maxi Gunter is another driver who can be in the fight for the championship given the right car and given the right circumstances. But I think it's going to be a very interesting season for Sebastian Buemi because I think he has not performed at his best for the last couple of seasons. And we did see a few incidents last season which were not, good for a driver of his caliber. But in the end, with the new regulations coming in next season, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for Buemi to show that he can still be in the sport and continue with Nissan to lead the team.
Yeah, definitely an exciting driver lineup this season for Formula E. 22 drivers, a few new names, like I've said multiple times, and I'll be glued to the TV screens for every weekend to come for Formula E this year. But let's talk about the new qualifying format. It is definitely a little convoluted, and I will, give you a little bit of leeway if you don't understand it the first time. But I will try to go through this slowly for your sake. So obviously, the new qualifying format, which was developed with the help of Sam Bird. Sam Bird, if you don't remember from 5 minutes ago, is the driver for Jaguar Racing. The first round in the new qualifying format will feature two groups of 11 drivers each. Group A will comprise of drivers who hold odd positions in the Drivers' World Championship, while Group B will consist of drivers who hold even positions in the Drivers' World Championship. Drivers in each group will be given a 10-minute session to set a qualifying time with a maximum power of 220 kilowatts. However, each driver is also required to set at least one timed lap within the first 5 minutes of the session. The four fastest drivers from each group will then head into the knockout rounds. The quarterfinals, first of the knockout round, will see drivers go head to head based on the drivers' classification in the group stages. The winner of the quarterfinals will then move on to the semifinals, the winners of which will then compete for pole position in the final head to head knockout round. All drivers will have a maximum power of 250 kilowatts for the knockout rounds. Drivers who were knocked out in the semifinals will line up third and fourth on the grid, while the drivers who got knocked out in the quarterfinals will line up fifth to eighth based on their lap times in their respective final rounds. Drivers who finish fifth to 11th in their respective groups in round one will make up the rest of the grid such that the drivers from the pole sitters group will occupy odd positions on the grid starting from ninth place, and the drivers from the other group will occupy even positions starting from 10th place. 3 points will be awarded to the pole winner, with no points being awarded for the fastest lap in any of the qualifying sessions this season. So if you did not understand what exactly all of that was, rewind back and listen to it again. But yeah, definitely a little convoluted. I'll give them that. But the drivers, at least Sam Bird has come out and said that he believes that it will make racing more exciting, and obviously it will be a relief, I believe, for most teams and drivers who were upset with the previous qualifying format. Although I will reiterate that Formula E finally accomplished what they set out to do with that qualifying format last season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we have enjoyed in Formula E as fans watching on a screen is that there are fast drivers and fast cars and slow drivers and slow cars all mixed up together, and only the most talented ones and the luckiest ones end up winning the race, basically. But I think their purpose for these new regulations was to make the championship hierarchy more even and more fair. So in the end, they definitely have achieved this goal, because when you have a group stage and then knockouts, the most consistent and the most consistently fast driver will emerge on top. So I think in the end they have accomplished what they set out for. It's a little complicated, and when you have head to heads, you won't see a lot of cars on the track a lot. But I mean, having a group and knockout format in motorsports is, from my knowledge, unprecedented. So
Yeah,
kudos to them.
it's like a weird amalgamation of the qualifying, the round one qualifying in the IndyCar, and then the knockout rounds in like almost in like a extreme E sort of fashion. So yeah, it'll
Yeah.
definitely be interesting to see how this turns out, if they make any changes for Gen 3 Season 9 or not. But a couple other news factoids, if you want to put it that way. Channel 4 and Formula E have agreed on a multi-year broadcast deal. Obviously, this does not affect the people not living in the UK, but for those living in the UK, I'm sure this is great news. And then there will be a change in financial regulations for teams and manufacturers starting from season 9. So we're not gonna dive into that right now. We'll dive into that when we come back 6-7 months later with the season 9 preview. But Vedant, before we close out this podcast, any final thoughts?
Uh, well, I guess, last year we covered Formula E pretty decently, but we weren't able to watch a lot of races and we had to cover it from news articles and such. But I mean, obviously, this year, also, we won't be able to watch a lot of races. But I think what I have learned from last year is that Formula E is exciting no matter what the circuit is and no matter how that, championship hierarchy is. So I guess in the end, I'm more excited for Formula E this season than I was last season. They have not marketed this season like they did last season, that the most competitive grid on in motorsports and all such things, but it's still one of the most competitive grids in motorsports, and it's still one of the most talented grids on in motorsport, and it's going to be as exciting as it was last year, even more.
Yeah, let's hope for that. And obviously, for our listeners, if you want to get involved in Formula E, don't forget that you can help your driver win the races and make a places finish with more points than he could have by voting for him. Obviously, the fan boost part of Formula E is still there this season. So don't forget to do that. Thank you, Vedant, for joining me once again. And obviously, we'll be bringing you more Formula E and motorsport content throughout the year. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.